This is the story of summer training at the United States Military Academy.
It's a rite of passage for every candidate to be trained as an Army soldier.
And it's where upperclassmen hone their leadership skills.
While teaching
And mentoring
Their fellow West Point cadets
through the toughest
and most exciting
summers of their lives.
Help them out by pulling on it. Make sure you pull it tight. If that tag falls off, your bag is mine. Is that clear, candidate? Yes, Sergeant.
When I came through these doors, it was an intense blur. I remember us getting yelled at. We were getting yelled at louder than they are now, and it was just a blur, a rush. You definitely do not want to be the last cadet in line filling out these forms, because you'll have cadre members on you saying, why are you the last cadet? You do not want to be the last cadet. Good morning, my name is Tara Laxton. I'm a firstie here at West Point, and as you can see, our job is to facilitate the new cadets, or the cadet candidates right now, tying their luggage tags and moving them into the bus lines behind you. This is the first time the cadets are exposed to this environment, from becoming a civilian, transitioning into a cadet. So we're expecting them to move fast, move on time, follow direct orders, and it's a pretty complicated process.
To be honest with you, I'm a little bit nervous about the physical aspect. I've got a smaller build and everybody around me looks very, very athletic, but I trust in my ability to make friends, and as long as you're an open person and you're willing to work with people, people here look very, very friendly, and I think everybody's just willing to work with each other. That's what West Point's about. It's teamwork and leadership, so I think we'll be okay.
I chose West Point because I came from a military school. I spent 4 years there. So now, after spending a few years there, I kind of realized that I kind of liked it and figured I'd just continue doing what I was doing.
So 36 years ago, I'm in the same position that Jared is about to enter now. And I'm very, very proud of him and what he's accomplished and what he's really sought out after. This is his lifelong dream.
Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. Tonight's topic is duty, honor, country, getting to know the United States Military Academy. And joining us still is Colonel Dennis ACOP. He is the president of West Point Society of the Philippines. Colonel, welcome back to our second segment. Nice video, no? It showed the transition, typical transition of from civilian life to cadet life,
right?
For new grad, for plebes, no?
Yeah.
And very interesting because there were two people who came out in the video, obviously Filipino Americans. You had this cadet called Tara Lacson.
Yeah.
Very Filipino-looking features, and Lacson. So if it's a Filipino name, like Lacson with a Filipino-looking, you're almost sure it's Phil-Am. And I understand the second Filipino-Asian, Filipino-American who came out.
Bernie Ruiz.
You actually know?
Yeah, I know. I actually know him. He's a member of class of 80, and we were at the academy together.
And then it looks like his son has made his way to West Point.
Looks like it. Many
Bravo.
of them do, similar to us here. Some of them have their sons and daughters also graduate from West Point.
Yes, and so these are really second-generation Americans who have gone to West Point. Was Bernie Ruiz Filipino, or he was American going to West Point? He was Filipino-American.
Phil-Am already.
Now, how does an American citizen get into West Point? Because for us, as you mentioned, you have to compete. I mean, there's a process. Probably there's a website in the U.S. Embassy you can go to, and there's a process. You have to compete with others and get that one slot. Difficult slot to get. But how does an American do it?
They go through, each one of them go through a similar process. They have a selection process. They get nominated by their district or political leaders. They have quotas to, they try to accommodate as many candidates from all of the states of the U.S., obviously. And so they go through a competitive selection process. And so eventually the candidates who get to go to the academy are really the cream of the American youth.
Absolutely. What is the screening like for candidates to go West Point? Because it's not enough that you're smart, no? I mean, it's not enough you perform academically. Is it a holistic analysis or examination of the candidate?
It's very holistic. Yeah. Of course, the SAT plays a lot into it, but then again, we are aware that each academic curriculum consists not only of knowledge, but also attitude, character. So you have to have. I would imagine that you have to have some kind. You have to have displayed good moral character as among the requirements. Also, evidence of leadership. Wow. So they look at not just your scholastic standing, but your your other extracurricular activities as well, leadership organizations, your how are you with sports, you know, things like that. So they look at everything. You're right, holistic.
The competition in West Point must be quite tough, huh? Because everyone there is like either class president, student council president, involved in arts, involved in academics, sports, as you said. And, you know, I mean, so it must be a very competitive environment.
Indeed.
Everyone is good, you know?
Indeed, buddy, truly. If you look at the survey of the qualifications of the candidates who are ultimately admitted into the academy, they're the valedictorians, you know, they're the organization leaders, achievers.
What is it like to be in the presence of this? And you know, as you said, it's holistic. I mean, like in other universities, it's enough to be probably smart and score well in tests, and you're in.
Yeah.
But here, you also have to be, you know, physically fit. You have to be sports-minded. You have to be. What is it like to be in such a competitive environment? Is it difficult?
If you think about it, of course, there's the pressure right there. You feel that you're among among the best of the best. No? But then again, when you go in, at least basing on my experience, the new cadet does not really have time to think too much of himself at that point, because he goes through beast barracks as we discussed, and so he's put in shock. You know,
you're all cut down to size.
You probably saw the video. You know, so this guy who thinks that he's so great, you know, he was a stud and he was a leader when he was in high school. Then all of a sudden he goes into the academy and he's treated like the lowest existing individual, and so he gets a shock right there, and so the focus becomes survival. You know, are you one of those who will be successful in shedding off your civilian habits and transform into a potential military officer? So there's a rigid screening process that meets you right off the bat, and it continues beyond beast barracks all the way through plebe year, the rest of the academic year, and it doesn't even end there because even when you are successful in completing freshman year, then, you know, second year, which is yearling year, or third year, which is cow year, or fourth year, which is first year, cannot really be classified to be cruising along years. You have to continue your scholastic achievements. You have to continue performing as a leader, constantly tested by all the activities at the academy.
Wow.
You have to constantly demonstrate your leadership qualities, and each one will be given a chance to do that. So, you know, there are no riders. Each one is given a role.
Yeah.
Your role gets rotated, your rank gets rotated, so that you perform different roles while in the academy.
Okay. Wow.
As a plebe, you're a private. You don't get any role.
Yes,
but when you become like a sophomore, you can be an assistant corporal or something like that. I was. And then when you become a junior, then you become a corporal. And then when you become a graduating cadet, then you have the rank of a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain. And depending on which position is given you, then it has corresponding responsibilities. And in order for each one to get a chance, you probably get a different rank and title and position for one semester, and a different one the succeeding semester, for you to be able to demonstrate your abilities wearing different hats.
Sounds like a very tough 4 years, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an ordinary. It really is not an ordinary, like an ordinary civilian university or college.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say the West Point is a 24/7 type of education? I mean, unlike in a civilian college or university, you go to your class, you leave it behind, that's finished.
It's a 25/8.
But it's a 25/8.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, it's coming back. You know,
Yes.
I try to put it to the dustbin of my brain, but now it's coming back.
No, Colonel, just hearing about you describe it, it sounds very hectic. It sounds very tiring and very fulfilling, no, as well.
Oh, indeed it was. I remember when we were cadets, it seemed like finally graduating from that institution was an impossibility. So when we actually graduated, we couldn't believe that we were actually graduating and leaving behind West Point, you know. Because while we were in there, you know, I don't know, now I probably know how seminarians felt, or people in prison feel. Those who aren't able to get away and just stay there the whole time. But then again, it's not really boring because they give you a lot of things to do, you know, constantly.
Yes.
And so you get to get so busy.
It goes by very fast, I assume, no? Because is there ever downtime?
The weekends go very fast, but
They're too short. They're too short.
yeah.
So, Colonel, in West Point, life in West Point, would you say the weekends are downtime? I mean, is that the usual thing? Do you get weekends off? Do you get Sundays off?
The weekends are basically downtime, beginning with Saturday afternoons and the whole of Sunday downtimes.
Are you allowed to go to New York City, which is a bus ride away or a train ride away?
Yeah, you are, but there are certain limits depending on the privileges that are allowed you. And the saying, rank has its privileges, literally apply to West Point. You know? So the graduating cadets, the fourth year people have more privileges, and they get to go to New York more than the plebes. The plebes probably never.
Of course, of course. Now, as a foreign cadet, a non-American, going to West Point, what is the most challenging? I don't want to say difficult. The most challenging aspect for you of attending the point?
Well, for me, and I'm pretty sure it's probably similar with a lot of the foreigners who go there. There's really two adjustments that hit you as soon as you hit land in the U.S. You know, you're adjusting to a different culture, from the Filipino culture to a foreign culture, and externally, and then internally, when you go into the academy, you're adjusting from civilian life to military life. So two major adjustments happening simultaneously. So, but then again, of course, when I went there, I didn't have a chance to adjust yet to the external environment, because I was inside the academy for most of the time, especially my first year. But when we got a chance to go outside the academy, then that's when I got to know the American society more and more, and the real world, so to speak. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I was very young. I was 17 years old, so of course I was in awe. You know, Provinciano, you know, I was from Baguio, and it was my first time to travel.
17, really?
Yeah, 17. Everything was a first for me.
Can you imagine that? So from Baguio, first time to travel overseas.
Yeah. Overseas.
17 years old, and then you're thrust to the big bad apple, New York, New York State, and then West Point.
Right.
With all these Americans, and all these in a military environment.
Yeah.
Must have been it must have been quite intimidating, no? At first.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, it was very exciting. I didn't really have time to. And I thought that, it's a good thing that I watched a lot of Hollywood movies back home, you know. At least when I hit New York, you know, I would recognize the yellow taxis, having seen Taxi Driver, you know. So there was a bit of that. It felt unreal.
Yeah.
But very
No, but I can see how it could be a problem for some Filipinos going there. As you mentioned, if it's your first time, I mean, you're not really a city guy, and your first time to go to travel, you go to the States and be with amongst Americans in this environment where you're under pressure. You're being challenged every day. Are there Filipinos who don't complete it, who go there and for one reason or another they don't complete the 4 years?
Well, if you look at the record of Filipinos who attended West Point, almost all graduated and came back. I think there's probably a couple who were not able to make it for not really for academic reasons, but probably having failed in conduct, that sort of thing. But most Filipinos were able to graduate and come back. There were probably a couple also as well who finished but decided not to come home.
Okay. Is that allowed? No, that's not allowed, no?
Oh, that's not allowed.
Okay. So they just, they stay in the States and they just went AWOL.
Yeah, because the rule is each one is supposed to come home and serve. We are indebted to the Philippine government for 2 years of service for every year of scholarship.
Yeah.
So we have to stay at least 8 years.
So it's like PMA. I mean,
same.
People who graduate from PMA have to serve 8 years after graduating from the academy.
Right, same thing, same deal.
Okay. Colonel, we have paused for another break. It goes by very fast, but when you come back, we're going to talk about your educational experiences, the kind of opportunities available for people in West Point, all that, and life lessons from West Point.
All right,
So guys, stick around because more of Duty on Our Country when Philippines Uncut returns.